Hi, I'm Mark Mazzaferro, and this is another episode of What's the Plan with Barton Brierley. And with us today, of course, is the star of What's the Plan, Community Development Director Barton Brierley. Barton, thanks for being here today.
Good to see you, Mark.
And the question on everybody's mind, and we're going to discuss it today, is what's the plan for Lower Lagoon Valley?
Yes.
It's clearly a topic of discussion in our community, and hopefully today we'll be able to kind of dispel some of those misconceptions about this project and what's going on down there. So right off the bat, why don't you tell us what is this project that everybody's concerned about?
Okay. It's a proposed development of private property on what's the former Heinz Nursery site. So it's south of Lagoon Valley Park. It's not within the park, but it's all on privately owned property. It's a proposed development that would include houses, a golf course, there's a business village, new park, and some other elements.
So houses, we're talking about like 1,000 homes?
Yes, it's approved for 1,025 homes of different types. There's some senior housing and single-family homes, estate homes, and some other types.
Okay, and it kind of addresses a need we have in our community for, you mentioned estate homes. You know, one of the things we hear when we recruit businesses is that the executives for some of these businesses, we don't have the right housing type, and this project will provide some of those types of houses. Is that correct?
Yes, that's been a concern for the city for a while. There's been, we've done a good job attracting new businesses, and yes, the executives say, okay, where are we going to live? And this is providing an opportunity.
So who owns this property anyway, Lower Lagoon Valley?
It's owned by a private company, Lagoon Valley Residential LLC.
All right, and all the development is going to take place below Lagoon Valley Park, right?
That's right. It's all on private property. None of it's within the park.
And we can't emphasize that enough, because one of the many misconceptions is that we are developing Lagoon Valley Park, and that is clearly not the case.
That's correct. A lot of misconceptions on that. It's all on private property. It's not within Lagoon Valley Park at all.
So Lagoon Valley Park is going to remain open. The hiking trails, the lake itself, the picnic area, all that stuff is going to be virtually untouched.
That's right. And in fact, the developer is going to do a number of things to enhance the park. They're providing $4 to $5 million to improve the park, an annual maintenance contribution to improve the park. And they're dedicating additional land for hiking trails around their property.
Yeah, and I think that's a point people seem to miss too. It's private property right now. There's a fence around this property.
Yes.
Theoretically, people shouldn't be in this property. I'm sure people get on the property. They're not supposed to be. This is going to remove the fence and open up a lot more hiking trails and open space in the lower Lagoon Valley area, right?
That's right. They're dedicating additional land for open space. There's a 71-acre piece of property that they own between the lake and I-80 that they'll be dedicating as open space. And the hillsides, they've already dedicated almost 800 acres on the hillsides for public open space. There's going to do a trail in there, so there's a considerable amount of additional public open space that's not there.
Now, we had a letter the other day that talked about draining the lake at Lagoon Valley and building an 18-hole golf course. That's correct, right?
That's not correct.
Oh.
There's no plans to drain the lake. All the development is on private property south of the park. There is plans for a golf course, but it would not be in Lagoon Valley Park. It'd be on the private property that's south of the park.
Okay, and again, I can't emphasize this enough. None of the development's going to take place in Lagoon Valley Park, right?
That's correct.
Okay, the whole infrastructure question came up at a recent council meeting.
Yes.
So that's the installing the infrastructure, that's going to impact the park, but explain how what's going to happen there.
Okay, so the area doesn't have sewer and water lines now, and so the developer, at their expense, is going to be installing sewer lines and water lines to get to the property. Those lines will go through the park, so there will be some trenching that'll happen for a short period of time. well, they'll be doing the trenching and installing those sewer and water lines underground. There is a sewer lift station that they'll be building in the park. And there's some conditions for them to do that. One of them is that they are required to build a new restroom in the park. That's something that's been lacking in the park. So because they're putting those utilities, they'll have access to do a new restroom.
So there'll be some impacts. They'll be temporary. People will still have access to the park. The park
Yes.
will still be open.
Well, we're working with the developer to consider the timing and the impacts and to lessen the impacts as much as possible, to coordinate with other events and to close as little of that as possible so that people could still use the park during that time. Originally was approved in 1990. There was a policy plan developed for that, and so that's really when the first approvals were. The current project was approved in 2005. Got all the development approvals to go forward, got the approved tentative map and all the other approvals. So at this point, they're simply asking for a development agreement which would allow them to extend the time to build the project.
Okay, and the difference between what was conceived in 1990 and what was ultimately approved or reapproved in 2005 is pretty considerable. I mean, it's a much scaled down project from what was first brought to the council to what was ultimately approved in 2005. Am I correct? Or?
Yes, the considerable amount of differences there. The original project had much more commercial space, had much more business space, had many more homes further up the hill. Quite a bit larger project, and through the process and negotiations was scaled down considerably to the project as it currently is
today. Okay, and I clearly there are folks who don't want this project built, and you got to respect their right.
Yes, absolutely.
to feel that way, and we certainly do. We had a recent council meeting. The last two council meetings have been, the focus has been Lagoon Valley Park, whether we wanted it to be or not, and it's going to come back at a future meeting.
Yes.
But at some point, either the project's going to happen or it's not going to happen, I guess. And maybe that's not even a fair way to characterize it. What the council's going to decide is whether to approve this agreement.
Yes.
Or not approve the agreement, but it's not going to stop the project. If they voted no on what's on the agenda, the project still is going to move forward, correct?
The project is still valid, so what they're asking for is an extension of time, but they could still build the project. It doesn't change the approvals that already have been given for the project. And the project's in our general plan. It's exactly what the general plan that's been adopted envisions for the property, and the zoning still stays in place. So yes, that's right.
Okay, and another big question is water.
Yes.
We're telling everybody to save water, and then we're going to build 1,000 homes in a golf course. What, are we crazy? I'm going to go turn on my faucet and let the water run down the street. I'll show the city. But there is water available for this project.
Yes, there is water available for the project. A lot of questions about where water for the golf course comes from, and that's actually from the Solano Irrigation District. They've already had a will serve letter from them saying that they will serve the golf course with water. The homes will be City of Vacaville water. And yes, we're continuing to encourage people to conserve water because of the drought. But actually, the city has considerable water supply.
Right. Well, it's a project that when I first started working for the city 10 years ago, we shortly after I started working, we learned that we had won the legal challenge, and it was appealed all the way to the state Supreme Court. Supreme Court said they weren't going to hear the project. It's unfortunate that the economy went the direction it did. Because that certainly slowed down the project. And I think another argument a lot of people make too is that we got plenty of housing in Vacaville, and that's not entirely accurate either, is it?
No, I mean, like, we went through a general plan and we considered what the community's needs and wants are, and that general plan considers this project and the need for this project. And as like we talked before, there are kinds of housing that aren't currently available that this will provide. The executive housing, there's senior housing that'll be available in this. We've actually had a lot of people call up.
Yeah.
I get a call probably 2 or 3 times a month. When's this project going to be built? I want to move there. So.
Right. I've been getting the questions in my office too, and you've been more
Yes.
than gracious to answer them. Okay, well, Barton, a lot of good information there. Thank you very much. Is there anything you want to add to this Lagoon Valley discussion before we say goodbye?
Well, the City Council had the meeting on it. They have continued it to their meeting in April. They are taking all the public comments very seriously. They've asked us to provide some additional information. And it'll be ultimately up to the council to decide whether to give this extension or not.
Great, great. And if you want to know more about the Lagoon Valley Project, we have a list of frequently asked questions as well as a lot of documentation about the project itself. There's maps, there's diagrams, staff reports, all that stuff is on our city website, cityofvacaville.com/Lagoon Valley. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on What's the Plan?